Warner Brothers Pictures and Imax invite you on an underwater adventure below the surface and beyond imagination.
The idea of doing anything in IMAX is that you can see it much better and hear it much better and experience the world better in IMAX than you can in any other medium. And the underwater world is a particularly wonderful opportunity.
For this film, we have Jim Carrey as our narrator. I think he can not only bring his dramatic capabilities, but I think he's going to bring a lot of fun and light moments to the film. The IMAX format is so perfect, a replication of reality, that it's just astounding, and people feel that when they're in the theater.
Very few of us are trained enough as divers to go to all of the places that Howard Hall can go.
The most fun kind of diving you can do is working diving with a bunch of your friends with highly sophisticated gear. So I love working in this format.
When we made Deep Sea, there were many, many animals that we wanted to include, but we couldn't do it because they were in locations that were around the other side of the world.
What we wanted to do with this film was to raise the bar a bit. With the last film that we did, we concentrated our filming around North America. We wanted to do something different. We took this project offshore.
We wanted to go to the most exotic locations on the planet, despite the fact that logistically that's a challenge. But we decided we're just going to go for it.
In the case of this film, we shipped over 8,000 pounds of equipment around the world, from North America to New Guinea, to South Australia, to the Great Barrier Reef, and then up to Indonesia.
Getting the equipment to the location, even getting it onto a boat. We're talking 4 tons of equipment.
We had to charter special airplanes at times to do this. We had volcanoes that got in the way of our logistical plan.
The whole deck was black with ash. Rocks were falling out of the sky. It looked like it was raining, but it was really just rocks falling out of the sky. And there it goes again.
And then each of the locations we visited with a camera, we spent 3 weeks there or more. So we spent a great deal of time in the water. The camera in the underwater housing alone weighs almost 1,300 pounds. And that gigantic thing only runs for 3 minutes before you're out of film. And then it has to go back to the boat and be changed. When the camera is off the tripod, it doesn't weigh anything. It's neutrally buoyant. But it still has that enormous amount of mass. And once it starts moving, it doesn't want to stop. And you certainly don't want to be caught between the camera and a rock or the reef. It's a very big and awkward thing to handle, and it's very difficult to move when there's currents. And that's one of the reasons we have a large crew. We have usually 7 divers down there with us, and we need all those people to move the camera. On the other hand, when you see an image, an image that you had a great deal to do with, projected, it's stunning. We get in the theater and we're seeing these animals going, wow, that is really a beautiful creature, even though we were there looking at it in reality.
Howard is an absolute genius at capturing animal behavior. I don't know how he does it, because this is all in the wild. These are not trained snakes or other animals, and he manages to get the most unique sequences I've ever seen. It's marvelous footage to work with.
We filmed some of the most exciting and beautiful and exotic animals in the world. The leafy sea dragons are so elegant and so gentle. I think they're going to be a real favorite, as will the Australian sea lions, because they just warm your heart and they make you laugh and smile.
We filmed dwarf minke whales. I'd never seen one before, and being in the water with any of the great whales is a remarkable experience.
I think the sea snakes, because they're so in your face, will be really fun.
I think maybe the most fun we had was doing the great white shark sequence. It was not an average shark dive because we were outside the cage with the great whites.
Looking at the footage shot in IMAX, when the great white shark comes past the camera, you see the serrations on their teeth. You see the texture of their skin. That's what IMAX is all about. When I sit in the theater, my heart starts beating faster, and it's just very exciting and heartwarming to see how people react to laughing when we wanted them to laugh and sighing when they see something majestic.
Every man, woman, and child that comes into the IMAX theater will leave feeling so excited and inspired by the experience they've had.
When you're in an IMAX theater, the image quality is so high that what you're seeing is virtually identical to what we experienced when we were down there. The same colors, the same textures, the same proximity, the same distance away, the same sense of being able to reach out and touch them.
Almost nobody in the world gets to really know the undersea creatures of their lives the way Howard does.
Our goal is to make people fall in love with the strange and wonderful creatures that live down there. Most people will never see these animals, and they'll get a sense that these are wonderful things and wonderful places and wonderful creatures, and we need to protect them. We need to keep them because they're valuable and they're part of our legacy, and it's something we need to do something about.
Leave your world behind and lose yourself. IMAX, Under the Sea. From the creators of Deep Sea and Into the Deep. Narrated by Jim Carrey.
Follow filmmakers Howard and Michelle Hall and their crew as they head to the South Pacific to shoot Under the Sea 3D, the newest underwater movie from IMAX and Warner Brothers Pictures. The team has set up off the coast of New Britain in Papua New Guinea to film the rare and exotic sea life that inhabit these waters. Director Howard Hall is on the lookout for lionfish, cuttlefish, and moray eels, but he never really knows what they're going to encounter, and surprises are part of the fun. For the crew, one of the great joys of being here is interacting with the local Papuan villagers. These locals are unaccustomed to visitors and intrigued by the filmmakers. Most enjoy the attention, but some get a little shy. Back at the ship, curious locals approach in dugout canoes, carrying fresh fruits and vegetables. Most indigenous people of Papua New Guinea practice subsistence farming, growing and hunting just enough food to feed their families. What they cannot make, they must barter for with other communities and outsiders, like the Under the Sea film crew. The villagers exchange fresh pineapple for onboard staples such as rice, ramen noodles, and, a favorite for kids, caramels. The locals get sought-after packaged goods, and the crew looks forward to meals with freshly grown ingredients. Next time, the team explores more uncharted territory around Papua New Guinea. Filmmakers Howard and Michelle Hall continue their expedition in Papua New Guinea's Milne Bay to shoot Under the Sea 3D, the newest underwater movie from IMAX and Warner Brothers Pictures. IMAX is world-renowned for its stunning 3D cinematography. However, it takes a team of experts to bring these images to the giant screen. Just operating the 1,300-pound IMAX camera requires 2 people, one of the many challenges facing Howard and his crew. The team must first scout locations to identify what they want to film, typically a year in advance, and then return with their camera at the ready. Oftentimes, the animals are reluctant to show themselves, and it may take hours of waiting. On occasion, the animals do not react as expected.
I got run into by a 200-pound bumphead parrotfish.
An incident like this serves as a reminder that we are in their territory, and these animals must be treated with respect. Varying weather conditions can make getting the Imax camera in and out of the water very difficult. The camera only holds 3 minutes of film, though it can take 2 hours to roll the 3 minutes. The team's launch and recovery divers are on standby to swim the camera back to the boat for reloading, while the filmmakers stay underwater. The turnaround can take 30 minutes or more than enough time for the star of the film to potentially get away. And in the tropics, bugs are not only an annoyance to the crew, they also present a problem when unloading the camera. Great care must be taken not to damage the film. But the crew's patience and perseverance pay off when they photograph a rare creature or behavior for the first time. And at the end of the day, the incredible array of marine life that is captured on film makes up for all the production challenges. Next time, the team travels to South Australia, home of the great white shark. Filmmakers Howard and Michelle Hall traveled to South Australia to continue shooting Under the Sea 3D, the newest underwater movie from Imax and Warner Brothers Pictures. After arriving in South Australia and filming a diverse assortment of beautiful sea life, the crew has set its sights on filming the legendary great white shark. A tremendous amount of brainstorming, planning, and building of special equipment goes into filming these extraordinary creatures in the safest way possible. Typically, most shark dive operators put their divers into a surface cage tied to the boat's stern. But in order to provide a new and exceptional experience for IMAX moviegoers, Howard and his crew are lowered into the water and set down on the seafloor 50 feet below. The IMAX camera is lowered down to Howard, where he and his crew attach the camera's lighting rig and prepare for action. Once set up, the team waits for the great white sharks to sniff out the bait that has been deposited into the water. While Howard films, one of his fellow teammates follows him with a blunt plastic-tipped pole, ready to poke at any creature that appears threatening. This important safety precaution allows Howard the freedom to photograph these fierce and magnificent creatures at an amazingly close proximity in open waters. After filming the great white sharks, the topside crew is notified to recover the camera, and the underwater team returns to the cage where they are safely lifted back to the surface.
Sounded like you're having fun.
We had a lot of fun. We had 3 sharks around. We shot them from 3.5, 4 feet away.
Another exhilarating day of filming is completed, and Howard, Michelle, and the team are ready to celebrate their success.
Cheers.
Next, the crew head north to the vibrant waters of the Great Barrier Reef. Filmmakers Howard and Michelle Hall explore the Great Barrier Reef for Under the Sea 3D, the newest underwater movie from IMAX and Warner Brothers Pictures. The Great Barrier Reef is the world's largest coral reef system, forming a natural breakwater off the coast of Queensland, Australia. The crew set out to explore some of the 2,800 species of fish and 400 different types of coral that call the Great Barrier Reef home. The diving here may be world famous, but it was no easy task for our team. Long, hard days are nothing new for Howard, Michelle, and the crew. But here at the dive site called Steve's Bommy, they have faced gale-force winds, choppy cold water, and the longest dives yet.
Could be worse. It could be cold. Oh, wait. It is cold. Well, it could be windy. Oh, wait. It is windy.
The reward for pushing themselves to the limit? Capturing on film some of the Great Barrier Reef's most amazing and elusive creatures in action. The stonefish is known as the world's most venomous and perhaps homeliest fish. Stonefish camouflage themselves on coral reefs and sometimes among tidal pools and rocks. They release a deadly venom when stepped upon or caught by a predator. To capture the stonefish feeding, the crew waited underwater for over 6 hours in a single dive, shattering all their previous single dive duration records. To safely dive for such long periods of time, the crew is equipped with state-of-the-art instruments and devices.
This is a technical diver setup. my push-to-talk, which operates my communications. I have an earphone so I can hear what people say to me. I have an open-circuit bailout, my hose for actually breathing through the rebreather. Then I have a wide variety of instrumentation. On my right is my oxygen level, and on my left is my diluent level, which is just air. And then I've got this gauge here, which tells me what my oxygen partial pressure is. And then I've got this gauge here, which lights up. Oh, and I have a depth gauge. It tells me how deep I am. And I have a computer. This tells me whether I have decompression sickness or not. Anyway, I have to look at all these instruments on a regular basis underwater, but I seldom do. And my days are definitely limited.
The stonefish wasn't the only creature the crew was able to capture at feeding time. Unlike humans, sea turtles are not affected by the jellyfish's stinging tentacles and actually prey and feed upon the massive jellyfish.
We spent 4 hours underwater filming turtles eating jellyfish. Anyway, it's a very long dive. We're all a little bit cold and we're all plenty tired, but it was a very good day.
The Great Barrier Reef provided harrowing challenges for the team, but the footage they captured of one of the world's most complex and diverse ecosystems was well worth the effort. Next, the crew heads to Indonesia for their final filming expedition. Filmmakers Howard and Michelle Hall explore Indonesia for Under the Sea 3D, the newest underwater movie from Imax and Warner Brothers Pictures. The final filming expedition led our crew to Indonesia, part of the ecologically important Coral Triangle. This extraordinary region is home to 75% of all known coral species and an abundance of other sea life. Howard, Michelle and the team shipped off on the 7 seas, aiming to capture the most colorful underwater images of their entire trip. Although the Coral Triangle did not disappoint with its vibrant colors and breathtaking marine life, it currently faces threats from overfishing and climate change. Without attention to this area, future filmmakers may not be as fortunate as Howard and his crew in documenting its abundance. But capturing such a wide variety of sea dwellers doesn't come easy, and this expedition proved to be the longest and most ambitious yet, taking 4 weeks of traveling over 1,300 miles to canvass the Indonesian waters. Luckily, the long trip proved to be well worth their efforts, as the camera caught some truly amazing underwater images, including intimate footage of garden eels, frogfish, and anemone fish.
Really nice stuff. The anemone was in the right place, a beautiful soft coral right next to it, beautiful anemone fish, just a gorgeous shot.
Howard's mission to find sea snakes, a venomous species that had so far eluded the crew in their travels, proved to be a challenge that would take them over 600 miles out of their way, in rough open seas.
We're on our way to film snakes for the first time. We're about as far from civilization as you can get. It is just a rock in the middle of nowhere, and hopefully there's snakes here, because if there isn't, we came a long way for nothing.
Bye, guys. Last dive.
The risky detour proved to be a big success, and an incredible way to end the filmmaker's long journey.
It's a wrap. Under the Sea 3D. It's a wrap in Indonesia.
After logging more than 2,000 total hours underwater, filming for Under the Sea 3D is complete. Howard, Michelle, and the rest of the crew have traveled all over the South Pacific to bring you face to face with some of the world's most stunning creatures. See how the story unfolds in IMAX theaters and immerse yourself under the sea.